Good evening and welcome back. I'm Britt Hume, and this is On the Record. There is no evidence in the available polling tonight of a major shift in the presidential race following this week's debate. The Real Clear Politics average of polls shows Hillary Clinton with a 3-point lead in a two-way race and just under that in a four-way race. The betting odds now show gamblers are favoring her to win by 68.7 to 28.8. That is virtually unchanged from last night. There will be a new Fox News poll taken post-debate out tomorrow, and no doubt other polls as well. In the meantime, what can we glean from the post-debate polls that have been taken? For that, we turn to the pollster and writer Kristen Soltis-Anderson. Kristen, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So what can we say based on what you've seen so far?
So as you mentioned, there's very little polling that's come out, but what we've seen so far suggests not a huge change in the race. The polling averages going into the debate had Clinton with a small lead. The polls that have come out since the debate tend to show her with around a 4-point lead, which would put things about where they were.
We read tonight's about 3 right on the nose.
That's right. My firm did a poll where we found Clinton up by 4. PPP, a firm on the Democratic side of the aisle, found Clinton up by 4. It'll be interesting to see what the polls that shows tomorrow, that comes out tomorrow shows, but I don't suspect that the debate dramatically altered the course of this race.
So what else can we say about this race based on, the debate and sort of what's in the air?
One of the groups that I'm going to be looking at the most is the subgroup of younger voters. Ahead of the debate, about 1 out of every 5 voters said that they were potentially going to change their mind as a result of what they saw. But for the millennial vote, it was higher. It was about 28% who told pollsters they might change their mind as a result of the debate. Part of that's because millennials break so heavily for these third-party candidates who weren't featured on the stage. So it was an opportunity for either Clinton or Trump to try to pull voters away from those third-party candidates with their special platform in those debates.
Well, on paper, because people who are young tend to be liberal, you would think that the millennials would be breaking toward her. That really hasn't been the case, though, has it?
It hasn't been. If you had told me a year ago that the Democratic candidate for president would be getting less than half of the youth vote, I'd have thought that the Republicans were doing pretty good with young voters. But Donald Trump is only winning about about a third of young voters at best, while Hillary Clinton only performs at best about 50%. A huge portion of the youth vote is still nowadays going for Gary Johnson, Jill Stein.
Barack Obama did exceedingly well among the young. What would you say roughly that Mrs. Clinton would need to, give her enough to have that piece of the old Obama coalition intact for her on election day?
She's really been harmed, I think, by some of the damage that was done by Bernie Sanders. Really strong performance with young voters during the Democratic primaries. She was losing young voters by, 80 to 20 sorts of margins in many of these states, and there's really been a broken trust there. She seems like she's part of a system that just hasn't worked out for millennials, that they distrust. Seems like a sort of traditional partisan, part of an old system. They're looking for something new and different. They're not looking to just toe a party line.
Well, but Donald Trump is new and different. If nothing else, he's really different.
Well, and Donald Trump isn't who Hillary Clinton is necessarily fighting for young voters. There have been rumors out this week that she might begin airing ads against Gary Johnson and Jill Stein in order to shore up the youth vote, because that's actually her bigger competition for these voters.
Yeah, because it looks otherwise. Outside of that demographic you're talking about, it does not appear that Stein and Johnson are really doing much compared to, past third-party candidates who've had a big impact.
The youth vote is a huge piece of their success, and I think that's in particular why Hillary Clinton is going to be focused so much on trying to pull them back. Donald Trump's able to really run up the numbers with older voters, particularly older white voters, so she needs to hang on to that millennial vote and win them by a sizable margin in order to compete.
What is it that keeps him from doing well with those voters, in your judgment? Doing better, anyway.
With younger voters?
Yeah.
I think there are a number of issues where Donald Trump's position is just a little bit at odds with where millennials are. Donald Trump's sort of statement of "Make America Great Again" in a way can be interpreted as backward-looking, that it's talking about reclaiming a time that's been lost in America, a time that for many of these millennials they don't remember. They lack that nostalgia. So for them, making America great again may seem like it wants to repeal.
Yeah, go back to the old days.
Go back to the old days where things may not have been as good for women or people from communities of color, and so that doesn't sit quite well with them.
Kristen, thank you very much. Nice
Thank you,
to
Britt.
see you.